The Manhattan skyline glittered against the night, a constellation of ambition and power woven into glass and steel. On the 42nd floor of the Morgan Technologies Tower, Catherine Morgan stood framed in floor-to-ceiling windows, her silhouette sharp against the cityscape she'd conquered. "The FDA won't wait another quarter," she said, voice steady as a surgeon's hand. "Either we present complete trial results by next month, or Medcore takes the market." 8 executives shifted in Italian leather chairs. None met her gaze. "Their product is inferior," Catherine continued, tapping her Mont Blanc pen against the polished conference table. "But first beats best in this industry. I didn't build this company to come in second." At 48, Catherine Morgan commanded the room with a quiet authority that had propelled her through glass ceilings most women never cracked. Her tailored navy suit and classic pearl earrings were her armor, her silver-streaked dark hair pulled into an immaculate chignon. No softness, no compromise, just results. Her phone vibrated. Manhattan Memorial Hospital flashed across the screen. She silenced it without glancing down. "We'll reconvene tomorrow. I expect solutions, not excuses." As the executives filed out, her assistant hovered at the door. "Dr. Winters called. You missed your appointment, 3rd time. Reschedule." "He says next month after the IPO." Catherine cut in. "My heart can wait. This company can't." Later, Catherine's BMW glided through Manhattan traffic, a bubble of silence amid chaos. The garage beneath her building recognized her vehicle, gates parting like servants for royalty. The elevator whisked her to the penthouse, 3,000 square feet of designer perfection and emptiness. She slipped off her heels, poured a glass of Cabernet, and carried it to the wall of achievement. Frame magazine covers, Woman of the Year, crystal obelisks, the Forbes 40 Under 40 plaque, testimonials from patients whose lives her medical devices had saved. Victory after victory, all alone. Her dinner, salmon from the premium meal service, was eaten standing at her kitchen counter, tomorrow's presentation reflected in her tablet screen. No music, no conversation, just the soft hum of success and solitude. 17 floors below the Morgan Technologies executive suite, Jack Davis guided his cleaning cart down the empty corridor. At 50, his face carried laugh lines and shadows in equal measure. His movements were precise, economical, not the shuffling gait of a man broken by manual labor, but the measured rhythm of someone who approached every task with intention. The night cleaning crew was skeleton staff, budget cuts that followed the pattern of every corporation Jack had known. He worked methodically, more thorough than required. When he reached the research lab, he paused, eyes lingering on the molecular models visible through the glass. A crash echoed from down the hall, followed by frantic whispers. Jack found Raoul, the new hire, frantically mopping at a puddle of spilled chemicals, panic evident on his young face. "I'm fired, man. This stuff is... I don't know what it is." Jack knelt, examining the liquid. Hydrochloric acid solution, probably 0.1 molar. He reached for his cart, extracted baking soda, and sprinkled it over the spill. "Neutralizes the acid. Basic chemistry." Raoul stared. "How'd you..." "Just something I picked up." Jack's smile was gentle but closed all doors to further questions. "Let's finish up. I need to get home." An hour later, Jack unlocked the door to apartment 4B in a weathered Brooklyn brownstone. The space was small but meticulously organized, bookshelves overflowing with science texts, chemistry journals, and colorful children's books in equal measure. At the kitchen table, Emma slept with her head pillowed on an open science textbook, pencil still clutched in small fingers. At 8, her face held echoes of her mother. Same determined chin, same delicate arch of eyebrows. Jack's heart squeezed at the sight. "Hey, Starlight," he whispered, brushing curls from her forehead. "Past your bedtime." Emma stirred, blinking owlishly. I was waiting. I figured out the molecule structure, Dad. She pointed to her notebook where she'd drawn a complex organic compound with surprising accuracy for a child her age. That's amazing, but science needs sleep too. He carried her to bed, her arms looping around his neck, her voice drowsy. Mrs. Abernathy says I should be in the advanced program. You should. But it costs extra. Jack tucked the blanket around her. Don't worry about that. Just keep dreaming big. After she drifted off, Jack returned to the kitchen table, studying Emma's drawing. With careful precision, he corrected one bond angle, his fingers moving with the muscle memory of a man who had once done this work for more than just homework help. In the dim kitchen light, he opened a worn leather notebook filled with chemical formulations and equations. Notes in the margins recorded temperature variations, molecular substitutions, possible side effect mitigations. He wrote for an hour, then closed the book, sliding it into a drawer beneath old takeout menus where no one would think to look. Catherine arrived at the office at 5:45 a.m., before even the most ambitious junior executives. The building was her kingdom in these quiet hours. No interruptions, no compromises. Perfect stillness in which to shape the future. Balancing a stack of investor portfolios and her coffee, she strode toward her office. The heel of her Louboutin caught on an unseen ridge in the carpet. Coffee splashed across the pristine white portfolios, the data projections for the IPO now bleeding into brown oblivion. No, no, no! The rare crack in her composure echoed down the empty corridor. Try this, the voice startled her. Jack knelt beside a cleaning cart a few feet away, offering a white cloth. Their eyes connected briefly, his gaze direct and steady, unlike maintenance staff who typically render themselves invisible in the corporate hierarchy. It won't work. These are ruined, Catherine snapped, frustration sharpening her tone. Salt and cold water for organic stains, then hydrogen peroxide on the ink smudges. You'll lose some color contrast, but the data will be legible. She stared at him. This janitor speaking with the confidence of a laboratory technician. And you know this how? A small shrug. Chemistry. He took the portfolios from her frozen hands, working quickly. Within minutes, he had salvaged most of the documents, the coffee stains fading to ghosts. Thank you, she said, the words feeling foreign on her tongue. Jack nodded once, returning to his cart. Catherine gathered her rescued papers, a question hovering unasked in the air between them. As she walked away, her phone rang with another call from her cardiologist. She silenced it again. Behind her, Jack answered his own phone. Hey, Starlight. Yes, I remembered your lunch. Yes, with the crust cut off. No, you can't substitute cookies for carrots. Nice try. Something in his voice, the tenderness, the easy laughter, made Catherine pause mid-step. A strange hollowness expanding beneath her ribs that had nothing to do with her heart condition. This man possessed something she'd forgotten existed. Joy in the small moments, a connection that transcended achievement. That afternoon, Catherine found herself distracted during the executive committee meeting. Caroline Wilson from Medcore Pharmaceuticals was presenting their joint venture proposal, her crimson suit and diamond bracelet telegraphing success and ruthless ambition. The stabilization issue with the compound is still problematic, Caroline was saying. Our research team can't seem to prevent degradation at room temperature. Catherine nodded absently, her thoughts drifting to the janitor with the unexpected knowledge of chemical stain removal. Something didn't add up. After the meeting, she stopped by Human Resources, requesting Jack Davis's file with a casual explanation about commending his assistance that morning. The file was thin, previous employment listed simply as various research positions, no specifics, no references. A peculiar void for a man with such specific knowledge. Returning to her office, Catherine passed the open door of a conference room being cleaned. Jack was gathering discarded coffee cups, but what caught Catherine's attention was the whiteboard behind him. Among the meeting notes and marketing jargon, he had erased a chemical formula and was carefully rewriting it, correcting it. She stepped into the room. That's not what was written there before. Jack turned, his expression shifting to careful neutrality. Just cleaning, ma'am. You changed the benzene ring structure. The original had 5 carbons, which is impossible. You corrected it to 6. For a moment, professional recognition flickered in his eyes before being carefully masked. Just making it neater. Who are you, really? Just a janitor, Ms. Morgan. Excuse me. He pushed his cart past her, leaving Catherine staring at the corrected formula. The exact molecular structure her research team had been struggling with for months. That night, Catherine couldn't sleep. She sat in her home office, laptop open to a search engine. Jack Davis, plus a chemist, yielded too many results. She narrowed the parameters, adding pharmaceutical research. An academic journal article appeared, Novel Approaches to Enzyme Inhibition in Targeted Cancer Therapies, by Dr. Jonathan Davis, Johns Hopkins University, published 12 years ago. The author photo showed a younger Jack in a lab coat, confident smile beneath serious eyes. Further searches revealed a brilliant career trajectory, culminating in leadership of a cutting-edge cancer drug research team at Westlake Pharmaceuticals. Then abruptly, nothing. Dr. Jonathan Davis had vanished from academic and industry circles 8 years ago. Around the same time, Westlake had been acquired by MedCore Pharmaceuticals, Caroline Wilson's company. Catherine sat back, pieces clicking into place. What would make a renowned scientist disappear, only to resurface years later pushing a cleaning cart? The next morning, Catherine had her driver take her to Brooklyn. The address she'd obtained from HR records led to a modest brownstone on a tree-lined street. She waited in the car, feeling uncharacteristically uncertain, until she saw Jack emerge with a small girl, Emma, she presumed, her backpack bouncing as they walked hand in hand toward the school bus stop. Their easy laughter carried across the quiet street. Jack knelt to fix Emma's scarf, his face transformed by a smile that revealed a different man entirely than the reserved janitor she knew at Morgan Technologies. After Emma boarded the bus, Catherine approached. Dr. Davis, or do you prefer Jack now? He turned, surprise quickly masked by resignation. Ms. Morgan, this is unexpected. So is finding a renowned chemical researcher mopping my floors. His jaw tightened. I'm not interested in whatever proposition you're here to make. I want to know why. Why would someone with your credentials? My credentials are irrelevant. I have a daughter waiting for me to pick her up at 3:15. That's my job now. A waste of potential. A matter of priority, he countered. Was there something else? Catherine hesitated, then handed him a business card. Our research team is struggling with a molecular stabilization issue. I think you already know which one. If you ever want to do more than clean up after scientists who can't match your expertise, call me. 3 days later, Catherine was surprised when her assistant announced Jack Davis in the lobby. She had him escorted up, noting how out of place he looked in her pristine executive suite, in his worn jeans and simple button-down shirt. I didn't expect you to call, much less visit, she said, gesturing to a chair he seemed reluctant to take. I'm not here about your job offer. He placed a folded paper on her desk. Your stabilization problem. The compound degrades because of oxidation. This modification would prevent that. Catherine unfolded the paper, recognizing the elegant solution immediately. Why give me this? Because unstable medications harm people. I'm not interested in working for your company, but I don't want another faulty drug on the market. His voice held an edge she couldn't quite interpret. Another? Jack's eyes darkened. Ask your partner, Caroline Wilson, about Westlake's clinical trials 8 years ago. Ask her about the patients who weren't informed of all the risks. Understanding dawned. You worked for Westlake before Medcore acquired it. My wife was being treated for stage 3 lymphoma. The conventional treatments weren't working. Caroline's team offered a spot in their trial. His voice remained level, but his knuckles whitened. They rushed phase 2 testing, skipped protocols. Rebecca died from complications they had identified in preliminary data, but buried. Catherine felt the floor shift beneath her professional certainties. After that, I couldn't do it anymore. Couldn't be part of an industry where profit margins outweigh human lives. Emma needed one parent who would come home every night. Who would put her first? He stood to leave. Use the formula if you want. Just make sure it's safe. As he reached the door, Catherine found her voice. Have dinner with me to discuss the compound. Jack paused. I don't socialize with pharmaceutical executives anymore. I'm in medical devices, not pharmaceuticals, she countered. And I want to hear more about these allegations against Medcore before we finalize our partnership. A long pause. I pick up Emma at 3:15. We could meet at Angelo's on 9th at 6. It's casual, and they have a kids' menu. Catherine blinked, momentarily thrown by the implied presence of his daughter. Corporate negotiations never included children. Of course, Angelo's at 6. Angelo's was nothing like the Michelin-starred restaurants where Catherine typically conducted business dinners. Red checkered tablecloths, candles in Chianti bottles, families in laughter. Jack and Emma already had a corner booth. The girl looked up, eyes widening in recognition. You're the lady from Dad's building, the one who runs everything. Emma, Jack cautioned gently. It's all right, Catherine said, sliding into the booth. Yes, I'm Catherine Morgan. Dad says you're very smart, Emma proclaimed, coloring on her placemat, and that you work too hard. Emma, Jack's tone held equal parts embarrassment and amusement. Catherine couldn't help smiling. It's fine. Honesty is refreshing after corporate doublespeak. Emma studied Catherine with clear, direct eyes. Dad works too hard, too. 3 jobs, but he always has time for me. Catherine looked at Jack with new understanding. 3 jobs? Nighttime cleaning at your building, daytime maintenance at Emma's school to cover her tuition, weekend shifts at the pharmacy. He shrugged as if it were nothing extraordinary. And scientist at home, Emma added proudly. Dad's teaching me about molecules. I'm going to cure cancer someday, like he was trying to do before. Let's order Starlight, Jack interjected softly. Throughout dinner, Catherine found herself captivated by their dynamic. The wordless communication, the inside jokes, the obvious devotion. Emma's precocious intelligence was matched by genuine kindness. Jack's quiet strength and principles stood in stark contrast to the corporate sharks Catherine swam amongst daily. Do you have kids? Emma asked suddenly. No, Catherine answered, surprised by the pang that accompanied the word. My company has always been my baby. Does your company hug you when you're sad? The question landed like a stone in still water. Catherine looked at the child, then at Jack, seeing no judgment in either face, just genuine curiosity. No, she said softly, it doesn't. Later, as Emma concentrated on her dessert, Catherine and Jack spoke in low voices about Medcore. Jack detailed the corner cutting, the manipulated data, the warnings ignored in pursuit of market dominance. His words held the weight of personal tragedy, but his evidence was scientist precise. I have documentation, he said, kept it as insurance when I left. Never used it because lawsuits meant publicity and Emma needed normalcy, not to be the center of a corporate scandal. Catherine felt the foundation of her pending deal with Medcore crumbling. If this is true, I can't partner with them. It would kill your IPO. Yes. Then why would you believe me? You don't know me. Catherine studied him, this man who had walked away from prestige and fortune to protect his daughter, who worked 3 jobs without complaint, who still found time to research solutions to problems that had once broken his heart. I think I'm beginning to, she said quietly. The next morning, Catherine canceled her meetings and requested all data from the MedCore joint venture. She spent hours reviewing reports, finding subtle inconsistencies in the very places Jack had indicated. Caroline's team had buried adverse reactions, minimized risk factors, exaggerated efficacy. Catherine was so absorbed that she almost missed her phone buzzing. Dr. Winters again. With a sigh, she finally answered. Catherine, you can't keep postponing. Your last test showed. I know, she interrupted. Schedule it for tomorrow morning. I'll be there. She hung up, pressing her hand against her chest, where occasional pains had been intensifying. The stress of the IPO preparation, the 60-hour work weeks, the burden of carrying a company on her shoulders alone, her body was sending warnings she could no longer ignore. As twilight gathered, she found herself driving to Brooklyn, parking outside Jack's apartment building on impulse. What was she doing here? This wasn't like her. The woman who planned every move, who never showed vulnerability, who kept everyone at professional distance. Before she could reconsider, Jack emerged from the building, emptying trash. He spotted her car, approached cautiously. Ms. Morgan? Catherine, she corrected, rolling down her window. I reviewed the MedCore data. You were right. Relief crossed his features. You're not going through with the partnership, then? No, even if it costs us the IPO timeline. She hesitated. But I could use your expertise. Officially. Name your terms. Jack shook his head. I told you, I left that world for a reason. What if the reason has changed? What if you could help create something that saves lives? The right way? Ethical research? Transparent trials? I have a daughter. Who needs college someday? Who deserves to see her father using his gifts, not burning himself out with 3 jobs? Catherine surprised herself with the intensity in her voice. I'm not Caroline Wilson. I don't cut corners on safety. Jack studied her, something shifting in his expression. Come upstairs. Emma's working on her science project. You should see it. Upstairs, Emma's face lit up when Catherine entered. You came to see my molecule model. The apartment was modest but warmly intellectual. Walls lined with books, a small kitchen table covered with science equipment, windows overlooking a community garden. It felt more like home than Catherine's designer showcase had ever managed. Emma proudly displayed her project, a remarkably sophisticated model of enzyme interaction. Catherine listened, genuinely impressed by the child's grasp of complex concepts. You explained this so clearly, I finally understand why our lab's approach wasn't working, Catherine told her. Emma beamed. Dad says the best scientists make complicated things simple. Your dad is very wise. Later, after Emma went to bed, Jack made tea. They sat at the kitchen table surrounded by children's drawings and science journals. You've created a beautiful life here, Catherine said. Different from what you had before, but beautiful. It wasn't always. After Rebecca died, He stared into his mug. Emma saved me. Gave me purpose when I lost faith in everything I dedicated my life to. And now? Now I protect what matters. Her childhood, her future. He looked up. What about you? What are you protecting with all those hours, all that success? The question resonated in the quiet kitchen. Catherine had no ready answer. I built something meaningful. Devices that save lives. That's what you do, not who you are. Catherine felt exposed, defensive. I should go. As she stood, sharp pain lanced through her chest. She gasped, clutching the edge of the table. Jack was instantly beside her. Catherine, sit down. His hands were steady as he helped her to the chair, fingers finding her pulse with practiced precision. How long have you been having cardiac symptoms? It's just stress, she managed. No, it's not. Your pulse is irregular. How long? My cardiologist has been trying to get me in. I've been postponing. Jack's expression hardened with professional concern. You need to see him. Tomorrow. I have meetings. Is your company worth dying for? The directness of his question silenced her. Would anyone at your funeral say, at least she closed that deal first? The truth of his words struck with physical force. I'll take you home, he said more gently, and you'll call your doctor in the morning. The cardiac event was mild, a warning Catherine could no longer ignore. From her hospital bed, she stared at the ceiling, contemplating Jack's question about what she was protecting with all her success. For the first time in decades, she had no ready business strategy, no 5-year plan for this unexpected detour in her life. Dr. Winters was unequivocal. Her body was signaling distress. Your heart's telling you something, Catherine? Will you finally listen? 3 days of enforced rest gave her something she hadn't had in years. Time to think. To her surprise, her thoughts kept returning not to Morgan Technologies, but to Jack and Emma. Their modest apartment filled with books and laughter, the genuine connection between father and daughter. On her 4th day in the hospital, Jack and Emma appeared at her door, Emma carrying a homemade card decorated with chemical compounds shaped into hearts. Dad says these are endorphins. They make you happy. Catherine felt a lump form in her throat. Thank you, Emma. That's exactly what I needed. As Emma colored in a chair by the window, Jack sat beside Catherine's bed. How are you feeling? Humbled, she admitted, and confused. 20 years building a company, and I never considered what would happen if my body decided to quit before I did. Jack's expression softened. The human element. It's what scientists often forget, that behind every data point is a person. Catherine found herself telling him about growing up with her father's medical practice failing, watching her parents lose everything because they prioritized patient care over profit, how she'd built Morgan Technologies with the dual purpose of creating life-saving devices and never being financially vulnerable again. I think I forgot the first purpose somewhere along the way, she whispered. Jack didn't offer platitudes or judgment. Instead, he told her about his own journey, the idealistic young scientist who believed pharmaceutical research would change the world, who then watched his wife die because of corporate shortcuts. We both lost our way for different reasons, he said. Maybe there's a middle path. When Emma fell asleep in the chair, Jack carried her to the sofa in the corner. The tenderness of the gesture, the natural way he cared for his daughter, it stirred something in Catherine she'd buried beneath spreadsheets and strategic plans. I've postponed the IPO, she told him, and I need your help reviewing all the MedCore data. But more than that, she hesitated, unused to vulnerability. I think I need your perspective on how to rebuild my company's ethical foundation. Jack studied her for a long moment. I swore I'd never go back to that world. Not that world, a different one we could build properly. A hint of a smile touched his lips. Always the CEO, even from a hospital bed. Always the scientist, even pushing a mop, she countered, and they shared a moment of genuine connection that had nothing to do with corporate hierarchies. 2 weeks later, Catherine returned to her office, not for a full day, but for a crucial meeting. Her board members waited anxiously as she entered, followed by Jack Davis, now dressed in a simple but professional button-down and slacks. Gentlemen, this is Dr. Jonathan Davis, our new Research Integrity Officer. Her voice held the familiar steel, but with a new undercurrent of certainty. He's going to help us rebuild our partnership strategy from the ground up. She presented their findings on MedCore, explaining the ethical breaches and the new direction for Morgan Technologies, one that prioritized patient safety over speed to market. The IPO will wait until we've established proper protocols, she concluded. Dr. Davis has designed a transparency framework that will ultimately make us more valuable, even if the timeline extends. Several board members shifted uncomfortably. This could cost us millions in the short term, one protested. Catherine nodded. Yes, and it will save lives and lawsuits in the long term. More importantly, it's the right thing to do. To her surprise, most of the board backed her decision. As the meeting concluded, her senior VP of operations approached. I've known you 15 years, Catherine. I've never seen you like this. Like what? At peace with a difficult decision. She glanced toward Jack, who was discussing molecular modeling with her chief scientist. His passion for the work visibly reignited. I found a better measure of success, she said simply. Over the following months, Catherine and Jack established a rhythm. She scaled back her 70-hour weeks to a reasonable schedule that included regular checkups with Dr. Winters. Jack worked 3 days a week at Morgan Technologies, developing ethical research protocols while maintaining his presence in Emma's daily life. Gradually, their professional relationship deepened. Late nights reviewing data led to conversations about books they loved, places they'd traveled, dreams they'd set aside. Catherine found herself sharing vulnerabilities she'd never revealed to anyone in her corporate world. I always wanted children, she admitted one evening as they walked through Central Park, Emma racing ahead to feed the ducks. But there was never time, always one more deal, one more product launch. Jack watched his daughter. It's never too late to shift priorities. To have children at my age? To make room for joy, he clarified, in whatever form it takes. Something blossomed between them, not just respect or friendship, but a connection that made Catherine understand what had been missing in her carefully constructed life. Jack's integrity, his devotion to Emma, his brilliant mind, these qualities drew her to him in ways no corporate success ever could. For Jack, Catherine's strength and her willingness to reshape her company on ethical foundations slowly rebuilt his faith in the industry he'd abandoned. Her determination to do better, to be better, resonated with the idealistic scientist he'd once been. Emma, perceptive beyond her years, observed the subtle changes. Dad smiles more now, she told Catherine during a weekend visit to the Museum of Natural History. He used to only smile for me. He has more reasons to smile these days, Catherine replied, watching Jack examine a molecular display with childlike enthusiasm. So do you, Emma said with 8-year-old certainty. You're part of our team now. Caroline Wilson didn't go quietly. When the FDA investigation into Medcore's practices gained momentum, she launched a counterattack, claiming Morgan Technologies was spreading misinformation to damage a competitor. The confrontation in Catherine's boardroom was glacial. Caroline, impeccable in designer threads and practiced indignation, faced Catherine across the polished table. These accusations are absurd. Your consultant is a disgruntled former employee with a personal vendetta. Caroline's smile was sharp. Be careful, Catherine. Push this investigation further, and your IPO is dead. Your board won't forgive that failure. Catherine remained serene. My board has already been briefed, as have the FDA investigators who are currently reviewing the documentation Jack provided. The blood drained from Caroline's face. You wouldn't dare. I already have. 8 patients died in those trials, Caroline, including Jack's wife. My company won't be party to more deaths. You'll regret this, Caroline hissed, gathering her files. When your investors walk away. The boardroom door opened. Emma peeked in, followed by Jack's apologetic expression. Sorry to interrupt. Emma's school called. She wasn't feeling well. Caroline froze, staring at the child. Something flickered in her eyes. recognition, then shock. Emma tilted her head. You look like the lady in the picture on Dad's desk, the one from his old company. Emma, wait outside, please, Jack said quietly. When the door closed, Caroline's composure had fractured. Rebecca's daughter, I never made the connection. You never bothered to learn the names of the patients who died because of your shortcuts, Jack said, voice steady with contained fury. They were data points to you. One was my wife, Emma's mother. Caroline looked from Jack to Catherine. You've made your choice then. I hope you're prepared for the consequences. After she left, Catherine moved to Jack's side, her hand finding his. Are you all right? He exhaled slowly. Better than I've been in 8 years. Thank you for helping me face this. His fingers intertwined with hers, a small gesture that carried the weight of trust, and something deeper neither was quite ready to name. The IPO was delayed 6 months. When Morgan Technologies finally went public, its stock opened on solid ethical foundation. The company's new transparent research protocols became an industry talking point, with several larger corporations beginning to adopt similar standards. Catherine restructured her executive schedule. No more 14-hour days, no more missed doctor appointments, no more solitary dinners with her tablet. Jack established the Rebecca Davis Foundation for Ethical Pharmaceutical Research, funded by a percentage of Morgan Technologies' profits. Their personal relationship evolved with careful, deliberate steps. Neither rushed, both mindful of Emma's place at the center of any future they might build. Movie nights at Jack's apartment, Sunday brunches where Catherine learned to make pancakes under Emma's exacting instruction. Quiet evenings after Emma's bedtime, when they discussed everything from quantum physics to favorite childhood memories. On the morning of the official public offering, Catherine stood on the stock exchange balcony, Jack and Emma beside her. As cameras flashed, Emma squeezed her hand. Are you nervous? The child whispered. Catherine looked down at her, then at Jack, whose steady presence had somehow become essential to her world. No, she replied truthfully. For the first time in my career, I'm exactly where I'm supposed to be. Later at the celebration dinner, held at Angelo's at Emma's insistence, Catherine raised her glass to the small gathering of core team members. To success, she began, then paused looking around the table. Not measured in stock prices or market share, but in lives improved, including our own. Her eyes met Jack's across the table. He reached over, his fingers brushing hers in a gesture that had become familiar and precious. In that touch lay the promise of something neither of them had expected to find, a second chance at balance, purpose, and the particular joy that comes from building something meaningful together. As Emma launched into an elaborate explanation of how she would improve Catherine's cardiac monitoring device when she became a scientist, Catherine and Jack exchanged a look of shared understanding. They had found each other at the intersection of loss and ambition, two people who had navigated different shores of success only to discover that the journey between them was the most important voyage of all. That night, after escorting Catherine to her door, Jack lingered. Emma waited in the car with Catherine's driver, giving them a moment of privacy. Thank you, Catherine said softly. For what? For showing me there's more to life than what I built. Jack's eyes held hers. And thank you for helping me believe in the work again. He leaned forward, his lips meeting hers in a kiss that held both tenderness and promise, the beginning of something neither had been looking for, but both had found. As Jack's car pulled away, Catherine touched her lips, feeling something she hadn't experienced in decades. The flutter of new beginnings, of possibilities unfolding, of a future where success was measured not in acquisitions and market share, but in moments of connection and shared purpose. Success had always been her shore. Now she stood at the threshold of another coastline, one where achievement and love existed in harmony. The journey between these dual shores no longer seemed impossible, but like the most important expedition she had yet to undertake.